Harris secures the support of a majority of Democratic delegates to become the party's nominee for president. Details of these and more will come to you shortly. Do stay with us. And now news in full. President Bola Tinubu has asked Nigerian youth, especially those planning to embark upon nationwide protest, to shelve the planned action and wait for the maturity of government policies aimed at regulating the economy and reducing the sufferings of the masses. Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, made the appeal while fielding questions from journalists after a meeting with President Bola Tinubu at the Presidential Villa Abuja on Tuesday. He said the president does not see any need for the protest as his government is doing all it could to ensure that the country is better off. The minister said the president has heard all the complaints of the citizens and is doing more to attend to them. He said government has set out more plans such as the minimum wage bill, which has just been passed by the National Assembly, among all the interventions that the president has put in place in the interest of Nigerians. He said the young people must listen to the president and allow him more time to set the realization of all the goodies he has for them.
So we discussed the issue of the country generally, and Mr. President has asked me to again inform Nigerians that he listens to them, especially the young people that are trying to protest. Mr. President is listening to them. He takes what they say seriously and is working assiduously to ensure that this country is good, not just for today, but also for the future. The issue of the planned protest, Mr. President does not see any need for that. He's asked them to shelve that plan. He's asked them to await government's response to all their pleas. He has listened to them, like I said.
The Nigeria Police Force has appealed to residents to shun violent protest as this is detrimental to the peace and security of the territory. The Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, made the appeal while responding to questions from journalists during his meeting with strategic managers in Abuja. Correspondent Kulujo reports that Egbetokun, who recognized the right of citizens to protest, underscored the need to be wary of miscreants who might hijack the protest to cause mayhem.
Anybody calling the youths to come out of violent protest, they don't like the youths. So I am using this opportunity to call on Nigerian youths to shun violent protest.
The police boss reiterated the commitment of the police to secure lives and property of residents. He added that his men have been advised on how to handle all protests professionally and ensure safety of lives and properties.
The address, I said we will remain committed to providing protection for those who engage in peaceful protest. That I made very clear in my address. If the protest is peaceful, you will see us.
The Nigerian Senate has approved 70,000 naira as minimum wage for workers in Nigeria. The national minimum wage bill will become effective after President Bola Tinubu assent to it. The bill, which scaled first, second and third readings just minutes after it was transmitted by President Bola Tinubu, was instantly passed by the upper chamber. The legislation seeks to raise the country's minimum wage from 30,000 naira to 70,000 naira while leading a debate on the bill. Opeyemi Bamidele, Senate leader, said 70,000 naira was agreed upon by all the parties after negotiations.
In response to the agitations and after a series of negotiations between the federal government and the organized labor, the current national minimum wage of 30,000 naira only has been reviewed upward to the sum of 70,000 naira only. This is part of the federal government's short-term measures to mitigate the situation in the country, as efforts are being made to bring about long-term solutions that would align with the yearnings and aspirations of Nigerians.
On his part, Tahir Munguno, Chief Whip, said there is a need to review the minimum wage in line with economic realities.
The minimum wage from 30,000 to 70,000 is equally very, very germane and apt, especially against the backdrop of the effect of the removal of subsidy, which has brought about a corresponding increase in the prices of goods and services. So there is a need to review the minimum wage to bring it in tandem.
In an anonymous vote after close consideration in the Committee of the Whole, the National Minimum Wage Bill scaled a third reading and was passed.
Distinguished colleagues, a bill for an act to amend the National Minimum Wage Act 2019 to increase the national minimum wage from 30,000 to 70,000 and to reduce the time for periodic review of the national minimum wage from 5 years to 3 years and for later matters 2024. Third reading taken and passed.
The House of Representatives has expressed concern over food insecurity, rising food prices and economic challenges of the country. This concern was raised during the inauguration of the National Legislative Network on Nutrition and Food Security held by the House Committee on Nutrition and Food Security in Abuja on Tuesday. Speaking at the event, Speaker of the House Suleiman Abbas stated that the event shows the nation's commitment to address food and nutritional issues. Correspondent Nabuchi Nabuchi sent in this report.
Represented by Deputy Speaker Benjamin Kalu, they acknowledged the sufferings of Nigerians due to high food cost and declining nutritional standards, urging Nigerians to support government's effort to finding solution to the food crisis. He said the government policies will yield positive results in the future.
This makes the involvement of the state assemblies in this initiative encouraging and a step in the right direction. Accordingly, I urge this committee to expand further by soliciting the support and collaborations of all the relevant stakeholders in the private and development sectors, civil society organizations, faith-based groups to achieve greater results in the overall interest of our country. We must build partnerships to end hunger and economic hardship in our country.
Honorable Chike Okafor, Chairman of the House Committee on Nutrition and Food Security, emphasized that malnutrition and food insecurity pose a significant threat to Nigeria's socio-economic development, exacerbating the burden on ordinary citizens due to worsening inflation. While Debo Ogundoyin, Speaker of the Oyo State House of Assembly and Chairman of the Conference of Speakers, stressed the importance of prioritizing food security and nutrition for the well-being of citizens.
Between the last time we met in Owerri, where we had our expansive retreat that attracted about 26 speakers of the House of Assembly in Nigeria and almost all the development partners, between then May 2nd and 4th, where we had that outing in Owerri, the food insecurity in Nigeria has worsened. There is, however, cause for optimism. The optimism we share stems from the fact that for the first time, attempts to tackle malnutrition and food insecurity will have a legislative push.
As we inaugurate the National Legislative Network on Nutrition and Food Security, we affirm once again our commitment to working collectively towards a common goal, the eradication of malnutrition and the promotion of food security across our great nation. Of course, we understand that this is a very challenging prospect to actually eradicate it, considering the statistics and the data that we've heard today, Nigeria being the #1 deprived country in the whole of Africa.
The food crisis in the country is viewed as a bane of unity and progress. Minister of Health and Social Welfare Professor Ali Pate and other government functionaries at the event emphasized the need for collective action to address malnutrition, a key pillar of President Tinubu's renewed agenda.
As well as endemic mass poverty in many parts of our country, compounding what the chair mentioned as impact of climate change on food systems and wastage of food, urbanization that is accelerating, that is dislocating people from where they farm to where their entitlement to the food itself is limited, and role of women in society and in our economies, and insecurity, of course, in many parts of our country.
A central issue in the delivery of nutrition and food security is the resource constraint. And coincidentally, like I said earlier, the Deputy Speaker and the Minister of Agriculture, who has arrived, welcome, and I were coming from an African Development Bank program on developing bankable business plans for women and youth in agriculture. The federal government, through the National Council on Nutrition, which is chaired by His Excellency the Vice President of Nigeria, and serve at the Secretariat of the Ministry of Budget and Economic Planning, and stakeholders are partnering to provide solutions for the malnutrition crisis in Nigeria.
We also know that almost 50% of the population today is either under pressure or is food insecure, which means they don't know where their next meal is coming from. Why is this critical? This is critical because malnutrition has an impact on growth, not just physical, but also cognitive. And potentially, that child who's malnourished is twice as likely to face death as a well-nourished child. So as a nation, it is about saving lives and also investing in the human capital of the country.
Nutrition and food security are constitutional responsibilities, requiring increased investment from all three tiers of government. Stakeholders here want government to prevent and alleviate suffering, citing banditry, kidnapping and policy framework as contributing factors to malnutrition and food crisis, which must be resolved for there to be food security.
You're still on to Galaxy News, so we'll quickly take a break, and when we return, the news continues to stay with us. We're glad to have you back. Now, for more updates and latest news, please visit our website www.galaxytvonline.com. Connect to us on our X handle at Galaxy TV. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Galaxy TV News. You can follow and interact with us on our Facebook page, facebook.com/Galaxy TV. Don't forget to follow and tag us on our Instagram page at Galaxy TV. You can also avail our eyewitness feature via WhatsApp. If you have breaking news around you, simply share a story by sending short clips or videos of the news on 018-666-669. Our social media platforms are user-friendly and can always accommodate your live updates and comments. Stakeholders have urged the National Assembly to reconsider plans to scrap certain government agencies as recommended by the Orosoyers report. The group presented their request at the resumed hearing of the House Representatives Committee on the restructuring of federal agencies and commissions in Abuja.
It can't be we cannot function maximally. I will tell you why. Yes, I'll tell you why, sir. No, we can't function as we should, and I'll tell you why. If best practice in every nation of the world, the service delivery and customer service stands out. A typical example is what you have in the banks.
Okay, now
you cannot put us under the government that we're supposed to be measuring. That's under the MDAs that we're supposed to measure.
And make our position paper know really why NICA should not be subsumed. The institute was established in 1947 as the West African Institute for Trypanosomiasis Research under the British Act of Parliament of 1936, and the same institute in 1964.
Personal experience, not because I read or somebody told me. You may also know that if you go around our schools in Nigeria today, especially senior secondary schools, there are no facilities. The infrastructure is decayed. No teachers. All because there is no funding. Just like he said, most state governors, the best they can do for senior secondary schools is payment of salaries of staff.
The committee chairman, Honorable Ibrahim Isiaka, appreciated stakeholders' input and acknowledged that merging agencies with similar mandate could address some concerns.
Give us what we can just say, okay, come and sit down, give us your take on what should be amended to consolidate the open-ended clauses. And that would have been justified without even your input of yes. Saying your take. So let's just have after now.
The Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, has again increased the monetary policy rate, which measures interest rate by 50 basis points from 26.25 to 26.75%. The monetary policy rate is a baseline interest rate in an economy, which banks use to set their interest rate. The CBN Governor, Olayemi Cardoso, announced this after the Apex Bank's 296th Monetary Policy Committee meeting in Abuja on Tuesday. Amidst the surge in food prices, the National Bureau of Statistics on July 15 announced that the country's headline inflation rate rose to 34.19 trillion in June 2024. The June rate represents a 0.24-point increase from the 33.95 recorded in May 2024. However, the latest increase in interest rates after the CBN's 296th Monetary Policy Committee meeting in Abuja on Tuesday is the fourth consecutive time the Apex Bank will be raising the benchmark rate in 2024. The CBN Governor, Cardoso, after chairing his maiden Monetary Policy Committee meeting in February 2024 since he assumed office in September 2023, announced that MPR has been raised from 18.75% point to a recorded 22.75%. The Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors, NARD, Ahmadu Bello Teaching Hospital branch has resumed work on Tuesday after an emergency ESCO meeting which ordered its members to return to work following a 3-day warning strike. Speaking to Galaxy TV correspondent on phone, Dr. Imran Sani Abdulaziz said after an extraordinary executive council meeting with management of the hospital, who showed commitment to solving the demands, they decided to call off the strike. Recall that the NARD Abut branch on Monday embarked on a strike to press on its demands from the government. According to Dr. Imrana, the major issues are payment of arrears of allowances, where more than 60% of federal health tertiary institutions in the Northwest Zone commenced payment of and paid a significant amount of these monies, but Abut did not. Among other issues, our members on the GIFMIS platform were paid June 2024 salaries in percentages, yet they are being owed salary arrears from 2021. And now we'll move over to the foreign desk for more news.
This is news from the international scene. Vice President Kamala Harris has secured the support of the majority of Democratic delegates to become the party's nominee for president. A survey by the Associated Press on Monday evening said she had received the endorsement of more than the 1,976 delegates needed to win the nomination in the first round of voting. That means Ms. Harris is on course to be crowned the party's standard-bearer and take on Republican Donald Trump in November's presidential election. It becomes official when party delegates hold a roll call vote ahead of next month's Democratic National Convention (DNC) in Chicago. Delegates are people who were selected to represent the electoral area. Their pledges of support are non-binding until the vote, but unlikely to change. No one has publicly stepped forward to challenge Ms. Harris since President Joe Biden left the race on Sunday. He found himself under mounting pressure from senior members of his party following a stumbling debate performance against Trump. If the total votes between now and when delegates cast their vote, scheduled to take place